Hi everyone, I'm Karen Robinson from littlepaperparty.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Australia, and today I have the first in my 12 Days of Christmas series to share with you. I am going to be trying really hard to bring 3 projects a week for the rest of the month of November, and they're all going to be Christmas themed, all different kinds of things and ideas to help us get ready for the Christmas season. But the first project that I always start with if I do this series is an advent calendar, because that has to be ready to go on December 1st, so it's like first up. So I like to get that done earlier in the month if I can, so it's all ready. I've got plenty of time to work on it. So this is how far I've gotten with my advent calendar so far this year. This one is for my husband. My husband works away from home, and I like to make him a special advent calendar, and then he takes part of it out to work with him. So, so he misses out on part of the Christmas season every year, and and also Christmas proper, I guess, as well, like every few years. So this just helps him to kind of be part of the season, and he enjoys it and I enjoy it, and that's all that really matters. So this is what I'm making this year. This is probably the biggest one that I've actually made, and I had to adapt it for the treat that I ended up buying this year. So they are little bags. They're very simple because they are making them for my husband, so he has to like them to his taste, and also they have to travel. So they can't be too much fussiness going on. They've got to be able to pack up well and, take traveling well and arrive at their destination still looking nice. So I've got number 4. So I'm quickly going to show you the products that I used, and then we will get into making them. They're very, very simple. And even though I'm using them as an advent calendar, you could definitely use them for something else. They would make great, just little gifts, teacher gifts, class gifts, etc., etc. I'll just grab one. I'll grab number 1, and I'll bring the other things. So what I did for the base is cardstock. I'll show you that in just a minute, and that's just cut, and then I've scored it by hand. And then the other products that I have used is for the star on the front, or actually for the topper. So this is what's keeping my box closed. So this ribbon will just slide off, and this can just open up, and you can get your treat out. So for the topper, I am using the Celebration Labels dies, or have used, and I've used the second smallest one to cut them, which was the perfect size. For the star on the front, I have used the Stitch Stars dies, which are in the annual catalogue, and I've used the 4th smallest one, which was, I thought, a really nice size for this particular bag. And then for all my numbers, I've used the Playful Alphabet dies, one of my favorites so far, which is in the annual catalogue. And obviously there's numbers in here as well as alphabets, so you could definitely swap it up. If you wanted to make these as table treats, for example, you could put the letter of someone's first name at each place setting or something like that if you wanted to. One thing I did really appreciate too is that Stampin' Up! Have included both a 6 and a 9 in this set. So even though the numbers to me look exactly the same, that was really great. It just made the cutting faster. So the paper that I used is from the Heartwarming Hugs DSP, which is in the current December mini catalogue, and I have all my pieces are already cut. I'll bring in actually everything that I have. So the next step was to cut everything down. After I'd worked out the dimensions that I needed for my box, I just started my prep work of cutting everything down. So like I said, I haven't finished yet. I'm still going. It's the beginning of the month, but I'm going to have this ready in plenty of time. So the DSP is from Heartwarming Hugs, and the pieces are cut to 3 by 3 3/4, so you will need 24 of those, and you will need 3 whole sheets of 12 by 12 DSP if you do want to make an advent calendar. And I'm going to include this on my blog as well with the accompanying blog post, so that if you do want to have an idea of like how much product you would need if you wanted to make 24 of these anyway, so you kind of know what you need to put aside. I decided to use 6 patterns, so I cut my DSP down to 6 by 12, and so yes, so then I've used a few more sheets, but it's 3 entire sheets of 12 by 12 DSP is what you'll need. My cardstock, I used coordinating 3 coordinating colors, and I chose Pear Pizzazz, Mossy Meadow, and Real Red. There are other coordinating colors, but I just chose those 3 because I like them. You can make 2 of these from 1 sheet of either A4 or letter cardstock, which was really important. That makes it a lot more economical, and that's what I was finagling the dimensions quite a while to try to achieve. And you will need a 7.5 by 5.5 inch piece, and all up for an entire advent calendar. So I make mine up to 24. You will need 12 sheets of either A4 or letter cardstock. For the foils, so hopefully this is not too glary, each piece for each star I cut down to 1.5 by, and that's not right, I cut down, I'm looking at the wrong measurement there, 2 3/8 by 2 3/8, and then the star, it just fits. A little bit can hang over the edge, but it doesn't matter because it has, the actual cut line is a lot further inside because it has this stitch detail, so you can have it and leave like a nice stitched effect for as a cutout. So because of that, there's plenty of room, plenty of margin for it to cut out. And then each strip of these I've cut just to the 2 3/8 by the 12 inches, and then I can get 5 of these from each strip, so I've got to cut the rest of these down. And you will need an entire 12 by 12 sheet of foil cardstock if you did want to use that to make the stars for the background. And then for the glitter cardstock, you don't need too much. The numbers are very small. You will only need a quarter of a 12 by 12 inch sheet of glitter cardstock. I should probably lie that down so you can even see what I'm doing. And the way I cut this is I cut these into 1.5 by 5 inch strips, and then I ran them through my die cut machine. So the first time, so you are going to need, if you did want to make an advent calendar, you're going to need 13 ones, 8 number 2s, 3 number 3s, 3 number 4s, and then 2 of every other number. So you're going to have to, repeat die, and this was the most efficient way I found to do it. So I ran everything through twice. So this is 2 1.5 by 5 inch pieces. Then with the little piece left over, I ran through a number 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then with another strip, I ran just 1s and 2s, so obviously I had to repeat those. And then with the final piece that was left, I just ran the rest of the 1s. And that was the quickest, most efficient way that I found to get all the numbers done that I needed for my project. So that's not on the blog post, that's just in the video, but all the other dimensions, everything is on my blog post, so you don't need to worry about writing anything down now. So let's get a box going. So I'm going to make a real red one. Oop, I've got a couple of toppers, I'll get to those in a minute. I'm going to grab the Simply Scored, and this is a very, very simple, it's a bag. I kept saying box, but it's a bag, it doesn't matter. All right, so on the 7.5 inch side, we're going to score it at 2 1/4, 3 1/2, 5 3/4, and 7. And then staying on the same side in the same orientation, I'm going to just use a ruler to mark this so you can kind of see better on the video. You don't have to do this. 3 inches on the side, and we're just going to do a couple of score lines part the way down to help us get a nicer gusset, which will give a nicer finish down the side. So we're going to score at 2 7/8, just down to that 3 inch score line, and then at 6 3/8, once again just down to that 3 inch score line, approximately. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. Then turn it 90 degrees, and we're going to score at 1 inch, which will be the base. Then before I put the Simply Scored away, I am quickly going to grab one of my toppers that I've already die cut, and I'm just going to score the center so I just get a nice crisp crease. That does fold actually quite well if you just fold it by hand and then crease it, but it's the top and I want it to have a nice crisp. I don't want any wrinkles in it. So just line it up on any of the grooves, it doesn't really matter. And then I'm just going to very lightly score this down the center, which you probably can't see, but it does make it fold better. And look easy. I'm going to grab some scissors, I'm going to grab my snips, And then I'm just going to remove a few things before we put our bag together. So with the 1-inch score line at the, which is going to be the base facing you, on the right hand side you'll have a little rectangle. You can completely remove that, you don't need it. I'm just going to wedge in a little bit. I'm going to just take a little sliver off the top and then cut up the bottom tabs and wedge those in just a little bit. I didn't fully cut off this little bit of score line on this bigger part, so I'm just going to go back and do that, and then do that for the second tab as well. And that's all the trimming that you'll need to do. Get my burn folder and fold and burnish all my score lines, which will give me a lovely finish. It does really make a difference using a burn folder. Gives you lovely crisp edges. It looks a lot more professional. And then I am, just before I put it together, I'm just going to finger fold just the top of these gussets in a little bit. Not all the way down, just the top, just to kind of encourage them and get them going in the right direction. And try not to wrinkle the bottom. Okay, you want a strong adhesive. I'm going to use tear and tape. I'm going to put some on the side here. So as you can see, I've gone over the edge. Doesn't matter, this is double-sided, so I can just roll it back on itself. Fold that over and it should meet up beautifully. And I'm just going to go over that with my bone folder just to burnish it and make it adhere very well. Find the back of my bag, which is where the seam is. And then I'm going to add some adhesive to my tabs and then to the front. You don't need to add adhesives to the tabs, but to maximize, to get the most out of my cardstock, I ended up, the base doesn't fully overlap. So that's why I'm just going to add a little bit on the tabs. They don't really need it. What I'm adding in there is very, very light. But if you were adding something heavier in that, they're having that, okay, I see what I'm doing. Having that extra bit of adhesion can be good. And then this is the back, so I just need to add some adhesive on the front. And because it doesn't fully overlap, just make sure that you add it towards the top here, the edge I should say, because it's not going to fully overlap this piece. You don't want to add it down here where you might end up with sticky on the inside. Then remove your backing, and we can just put the base together. Fold in the side tabs. You can use your grid paper to help keep your box square. Fold that down, fold over the top, and then just give it a little bit of a burnish inside with your bone folder, a ruler or something like that, something flat. And that's it. That is our bag base made very simply. So to put in aside, or I'll put the topper on first. I'm just finding the one that's folded. I'm just going to fold that in half, whoopsie daisy, and just reinforce that fold with my bone folder. Because this is DSP, you can cut 2 of the toppers at a time, which is great. So I only needed to cut 12 lots of those rather than 24 because it's nice and thin. So that's why I've got an extra one just floating around there. So for this, I attached this with tear and tape as well. So this actually hangs over the side a little bit. So when I put it on, I'm just going to try to be careful not to go all the way to the edge, just to leave a little bit of a border. You don't want to put it right up against the score line as well, because you're not going to have the score line butted right up. You kind of need a little bit of, just a smidge of a gap, so it's just got a bit of give and it'll close better. So let's have a look here. That should probably be fine. And I'll put one little small piece just down the bottom. Oh, I just realized something I didn't get out. I'll see if I can find it without crashing everything around later. Okay, so I've taken all the backing of my tear and tape off. I'm going to grab my bag. I'm just going to make sure that this is the back here where I've got my seam. didn't really join that up very well, but anyway. So with the non-sticky side, that's the front, I'm going to put that on the front of what's going to be my container, and then I'm just going to turn it around, and then I can line it up, center it as best I can, get it close to the score line but not right on the score line, pinch my little bag closed, and just trying to do it so you can see and so I can see at the same time, and then I'm going to fold over the back and get my thumbs out of the way. And then just grab my bone folder and go in there and just give it a good press from the inside, and that's it. And that's my whole bag. And yes, I'm going to use a little bit of ribbon to close it in just a second. So I'm very sorry, I forgot to get something out. So I'm going to use a little bit of a couple of pegs to, there we go, to hold it closed while I pop the ribbon on. First of all, I'm going to put the treat in there. I'm so sorry about that. Here I am thinking I'm organized, but I'm not. So the treats that I chose something a little bit different this year. I found these online. I'm in Australia, so you can find these here. They're a local company. I don't know if they send internationally, but I'm sure you can find similar things somewhere else. So these are just little bickies that are there's 2 per package, and I just bought an assortment of flavors, and then I'm going to add them with tea bags. It'll make a nice little morning tea, afternoon tea, or, knowing my husband, possibly a breakfast. So I'm going to choose these lemon macadamia nut shortbread. These are so nice. And I think I'm going to put it with some English breakfast. So I'm going to pop my treat in here. I had to fold the sides of my tea bags a little bit, but like I said, I really wanted to maximize. I didn't want to use just one sheet of cardstock per bag, because that's just, yeah, that's too much. So I don't mind having to fold the sides in a little bit. Oops, it wants to catch. Finagle it a little bit. Shake my bickies down to the bottom as much as I can. So I am sorry, there might be some rustling here. I will try to be brief. And then I might need to just fold down the top and then pinch the top closed. So this unfortunately is the second take of this video. My first one, I don't know, the file must have gotten corrupted or something. So yeah. Okay, my finagling was better. So there's a lot more crunching the first time. Then I am going to grab, these are just a couple of pegs. Oh, hopefully they ping off. They are going to ping off. Which I just needed to put on. You could use any sort of clip. It's making a liar out of me now. You could use any sort of clips that you have. There we go. Just to hold it closed while you put the ribbon on, because my treat is actually quite large and really fills it up, so it wants to ping off. But if you have something smaller, you probably don't need to worry about that. For the ribbons that I'm using, I am using this diagonal striped ribbon and this beautiful sheer ribbon, which are in the current mini catalog. And then I'm also using a white ribbon, which is retired. This is just from my stash, but any, you know, ribbon combination would work, whatever you like. I just like these, and I wanted them so they're all the same width, which pretty much, yeah, the same width, which is what I wanted. And then obviously all the colors go with that. So for my red ones, I seem to be using white. So I am, yeah, there's a method to my madness. I haven't measured how much ribbon this uses. It does use a bit. So I know I've ordered some more of the other ones, and when I run out of this one, I will, I will just pick another white ribbon that I have that's the same size. So to keep it closed, I tied a knot in my ribbon first. So I've just popped on a length. I want to have a reasonably generous bow. I'm tying it nice and firm, nice and snugly, and I'm just going to tie a knot, and that way I don't have to worry about trying to tie a bow and it pinging off, or the bow maybe coming undone, and then, you know, because I have a treat that's kind of applying a little bit of pressure. Just gonna snip a bit of this off. So I am using quite a bit of ribbon. You could definitely use a different method to close these and save money, but I always seem to have excess of ribbon, so I'm not too worried about it. So I'm going to pop that to the side, and I'm going to grab my star. And so I'm up to the number 5 now. And I've just grabbed a couple of extra ones. So I'm still on single digits, but when I get to the double digits, I can just move it across a little bit, and then I just will have to be a little bit careful with where I put my glue so that I don't get any hanging over the edges. And I know I'm not going up to 25, but this would probably be the biggest number that you would have. But they still do fit on. You could definitely go up a size in the star, but to me this was the most efficient and an economical way with my cardstock, and I like the size with this. But anyway, we're just doing the single number. I'm keeping it flat because, as I mentioned, these have to travel, so I kind of have to be careful with dimension. I don't want anything that can be knocked off. I don't want anything that I have to worry about, you know, crushing when I pack it. So, but you could definitely pop these up and add a lot more decoration than what I'm adding, but I'm just keeping it simple because, like I said, it has to travel. And also it's for my husband, you know, he doesn't necessarily want something that's super complicated. Then I can pop a block on that while it dries. Oops, a little bit of glue, doesn't matter. So to attach it to my ribbon, I'm using some silver thread. This is retired. You could use anything, just a very fine thread. You could even just use like sewing thread, a fine twine, anything will do. But once again, I have this in my stash. It works with the silver, so you know, I want to use it and just use it up. So to put it on, I have a needle. This is, I think this is a size 28 tapestry needle. I do cross stitch as well. It has a nice big eye, which is great, and I like to have just a couple of needles for when I need them for linen thread or other things, and it's perfect for this. So oops, I got a little bit of glue there. I'll come back and fix that up later. So because this has this stitching around it, it has little holes in it, so it's perfect. So I can just grab my needle, and then I've just literally the very top of the star, I can just thread it through. But yes, to try to do that without a needle though, I found to be impossible. So that's why I've just grabbed the needle, and simple. So what I'm going to do is, before I tie my bow, I'm actually going to tie this around my ribbon. You could definitely make a loop and then thread your ribbon through it, but I found it easier this way. The thread is quite fine, and I just found it a bit easier this way. So I do want it to dangle a little bit. So once I've kind of got it where I want it, to the length I want it, I'm just going to knot it, hopefully. So the lights that I have are shining on on the thread and making it difficult to see. So hopefully I can do this. I did it last time. Like I said, this is take 2. So hopefully I can do it again. There you go. And then I'm just going to do one more knot. Trim off any excess. Okay, and then I've got that how I want it, so it's going to dangle. So this is my, I don't know, my fake 3D effect because I'm not adding any extra dimension or anything to these. And then I'm just going to tie my bow. Oh wow, that turned actually really well. I'm squashing it now, but that tied pretty darn well. I was pleased. Usually have to take a couple of tries. Okay, and I will stop fussing with it. I'll probably come back and fuss with it later. And then I've got a pair of big scissors, and then just trim the edges of my ribbon. So I'll bring back in what I've got so far. So now I'm up to number 5. So I'm getting there. Hopefully this will upload and I won't have to make a take 3. So hopefully you can see them all. They're really pretty. It's really simple. It's quick, and once you do that, probably the longest part it's going to take me was just the prep work, just all the cutting down everything. But now that's all done and it's all ready to go. My numbers are all ready to go, and then it's just scoring, a bit of trimming, and then just assembly. Well, I hope you enjoyed this idea. I think that they look really cute. You could definitely add a lot more to them, dress them up a lot more, but like I said, mine have to travel, so I need to keep them pretty simple and reasonably flat. And number 2 is already out because like I said, this is take 2, but I will see you soon with number 3. Bye.